Okay, let's call to order the Sparks City Council meeting of, October 27th, 2014, with a roll call, please.
Mayor Gino Martini.
Here.
Councilmember Ratty. Here. Councilmember Lawson. Here. Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Kerrigan, absent. Councilmember Ron Schmidt.
Here.
City Manager Driscoll.
Here.
City Attorney Chet Adams.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, if you'd all stand for invocation speaker Tom White from the Church of Latter-day Saints. Welcome, sir.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity we have to be here this day with our mayor and city council of the great city of Sparks, Nevada. We pray that thy spirit will be with us as a city council, as members of this community, that we will be able to feel of thy spirit as we meet together. We pray for the wisdom, discernment of our city council. And we pray that those who have brought business before this council will be able to be heard properly, will be able to be respectful to our city leaders. We're grateful for the great blessing we have of living in this great free country and being able to participate in our governments. And we pray for these things, Father, in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. If you'd remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, Ms. Ratty, would you lead us, please?
Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next is comments from the public. Anybody in the public want to speak on any subject? Seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes, consideration and possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meeting for October 13th, 2014. Any omissions or deletions or corrections? Mr. Schmidt.
Motion to approve is outlined.
Mr. Lawson.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Schmidt, seconded by Councilman Lawson to approve the minutes of October 13th, 2014. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, and I glossed right over it, obviously, but I missed 5. Approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? Not looking for a motion. Ms. Ratty.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Schmidt.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Ratty, seconded by Councilman Schmidt to approve the agenda as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Next is announcements, presentations. First is the AAA of Northern California, Nevada, and Utah Rescuer of the Year Award and donation for Michael Lansbury. Is there someone here to present that? Oh, come on up, Chief. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Manager Driscoll, City Attorney Ted Adams, and Council. We have a large group here today, so if it's okay, I'm going to stand and just call people up. But essentially, the AAA of Northern Nevada, California, and Utah has selected Michael Lansbury as the AAA Rescuer of the Year in the Good Samaritan category for the state of Nevada. In association to that, there's a $10,000 award that goes with that. I have Sharon Lansbury with me today. On behalf of Michael Lansbury, she'd like to donate that $10,000 to our Victim Advocate program at the police department, mainly assisting Jen Olson in providing for victims of crime, including clothing, blankets, food when needed, hotel rooms, those types of things. So my main purpose today is to bring everyone up before you and have a presentation for that interaction to occur, and also seek your approval in the $10,000 donation.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is Paulette Stracuzzi from AAA, and she has a few words to say as well.
Welcome.
So on behalf of AAA Nevada, it's really my privilege to be here today to honor Michael as our AAA Rescuer of the Year. Michael's heroic actions really demonstrated incredible courage and selfishness on the schoolyard that day, allowing many children, to run to safety. And his selfish act deserves our collective recognition and praise. And I'm especially wonderful to be here today in front of the City Council and the Mayor and the Councilman and especially Sharon and the Deputy Chief as well, and members of the community. So we thank you for our time. All of the AAA management is here with us from AAA, from the Reno Sparks area. And what we'd like to do today is really honor Michael with this award. And Sharon's here to accept this on his behalf. We also have for her a $3,000 gift of AAA travel. And of course, we wouldn't be AAA if we didn't give you a 3-year premier membership to AAA. So we're excited to do that. And in addition, as the Deputy Chief said, she selected the Sparks PD to receive the donation in his honor. We're delighted that she selected the organization, and we're thankful for all you do to protect the citizens of the community and visitors. We have that very much in common of rescuing and protecting and making our communities safer places. So on behalf of AAA, and as designated by Sharon, we're proud to give you this fake big check. We'll take it. So maybe let's spread it together.
Thank all of you so much, and Sharon, thank you for just giving that to our victims advocate. That's wonderful, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's okay, I have one more thing to say, and I know Jen will kill me for doing this, but
Sure.
I just want everyone to have a face for the name. She is the Sparks Police Department victim advocate, and I can't tell you what a great job she does, and she puts a face and a feeling and a hug to everything that we do, which cops tend to not be very good at. So she fills all those gaps as one person that really no one else could, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows who she is and just the incredible job that she does. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Jen. We appreciate you being here. I want you to know there's probably only 2 or 3 million people that watch this show, so there's a lot of people out there going to know who you are. So thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay, next is proclamation, Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful 25th Anniversary. Someone here to get this? Come on down. Just have a seat, and then I'll read it, and then I'll present it to you, if you don't mind. Whereas Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful, a community-funded organization whose numerous programs benefit all of Truckee Meadows residents, marks 25 years of stewardship in northern Nevada with a celebration and fundraiser on October 29, 2014. And whereas Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful is dedicated to creating a cleaner, more beautiful region through education and active community involvement. And whereas KTMB was founded by the Biggest Little City Committee in 1989 under the name of Western Nevada Clean Communities, and began the Adopt a Park program to involve citizens in hands-on volunteer activities to spruce up parks in Truckee and the Truckee River. And whereas all of KTMB's programs are geared toward educating the public about the economic and health hazards of litter and illegal dumping, toward reducing our waste, eliminating trash from our parks, roadways, and open spaces, and making our community a beautiful and safe place to live, and giving opportunities for residents and businesses to take pride and ownership in their home. And whereas KTMB works with more than 3,000 volunteers from Northern Nevada and neighboring areas every year to attain the vision of becoming America's cleanest community, more than 90% of every dollar KTMB receives goes directly to programs that clean up the Truckee Meadows and educates our community. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim October 29, 2014 as KTMB's 25th anniversary, and that those in our community are encouraged to help support their efforts by getting involved as a volunteer, by purchasing a ticket to KTMB's 25th anniversary celebration, or by making a donation to help support Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful. Thank you. Just give us your name and say a few words if you want.
Hello, my name is Jamie Souza for the record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Sparks City Council members. We are very honored to receive this proclamation from you, and we look forward to 25 more years, and hopefully more beyond that, of serving the Truckee Meadows, including the city of Sparks. And our next big program, which we will serve this community, this city, is Christmas tree recycling, which starts the day after Christmas.
Coming right up, yes. Thank you
So
for being here.
You're welcome.
Thanks. 7.3 Proclamation Family Caregivers Month. Come on down, please. Whereas family caregivers play an increasingly important role in the well-being of loved ones, providing unpaid assistance with both health care tasks and activities of daily living, and more than a third of Nevadans are over the age of 50 currently provide care for a patient, spouse, disabled child, or other relative or friend. And whereas more than 500,000 family caregivers in Nevada provide unpaid assistance equivalent to 348 million hours and an estimated value of $4 billion each year. And whereas the proportion of Nevada's population that is over 60 is growing more rapidly than other components, and the U.S. Census Bureau estimates that about 24% of Nevadans will be over the age of 60 by 2030. And whereas older adults who receive cost-effective services at home are more likely to continue to live independently in communities without needing nursing home care or utilizing public assistance. And whereas to successfully address the surging population of older adults and others with significant needs for long-term services and supports, we must develop methods to encourage and support Nevada's family caregivers while developing ways to recruit and retain a qualified, responsive, in-home care workforce. And whereas the City of Sparks supports and applauds the dedicated work of family caregivers and recognizes caregiving for older, vulnerable, or disabled Nevadans as a vital and needed profession today and in the future. Now, therefore, I, Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim November 2014 as Family Caregiver Month. Thank you.
I need to turn this on. My name is Mary Liverati, and I'm the Nevada AARP State President, and I'm also a member of the Nevada Coalition of Caregivers. I would just like to say that we are having a recognition in November 18th, at the Atlantis to honor our family caregivers and also professional caregivers. So we invite anyone that might want to attend to, they can contact us for more information. And thank you very much for recognizing all those hardworking family caregivers. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Okay, next is 7.4, presentation, regional road impact fee update. Mr. Martini.
Ready?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce my colleague at RTC, Julie Masterpole, who is the Regional Road Impact Fee Administrator and the shepherd of 1 million wild cats over the last 2 years. At the September board meeting, Councilman Lawson requested that Julie come give this presentation to our council, and that's why we're here today. I'll turn it over to you, Julie.
Great, thank you. Again, Julie Masterpool, Senior Engineer with the Regional Transportation Commission. And here today, just give an update of our Regional Road Impact Fee Program and the changes that we'll be bringing forward at a future meeting. Impact fees are a tool for collecting cost of building additional capacity improvements due to new development. And unlike the old exaction methods, impact fees allow all of the new development to pay their proportional fair share of the improvements. The Regional Road Impact Fee Program was implemented back in 1996, and we typically review the update every 2 to 3 years. However, for this update, we felt it was time for a thorough review, so we hired a National Impact Fee consultant to come in and look at our program with compliance with Nevada state statute, national case law, and best business practices for impact fees. And here are some highlights of the proposals, the changes that are being proposed. The first being the service area. Our current program has a single service area with 3 separate benefit districts. The new program is going to have 2 service areas with no benefit districts, essentially. And this was basically was required to comply with the Nevada statute, which restricted an entire city from being within a single service area. So we've broken up the service area into two separate service areas. And we're going to be tracking the collections and the use of the impact fee revenue by service area. Also, we've included a definition for the eligible improvements for the impact fee program, and that the first 2 lanes of any new roadway that serves new development will be the responsibility of the developer and won't be eligible for impact fees or impact fee credits under this new definition. And as far as our methodology, we've always based on VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled, but now we're going to be using the consensus forecast as part of our impact fee calculation, and that will help us better or more accurately represent the growth over our 10-year capital improvement plan. We're also looking at simplifying our land use categories, changing from about, I think we have maybe 30 different categories at the current time. We're going to be going down to about 12 different categories for the assessment of impact fees. And here's an example of our map that shows our existing 3 benefit districts. They're in the black: northwest, northeast, and south, with a single service area. And we'll be changing to the north service area and south. The north is comprised of both the northwest and the northeast benefit district. The boundary between the 2 is I-80. And again, we're going to be tracking those collections and expenditures of impact fees by service area. Now, one of the requirements in NRS is that if a development is required as a condition of approval to build an improvement that's on the capital improvement plan, that those improvements shall be credited against the impact fees owed. And the existing program we currently have has some very unique features in that credits could be earned, more credits could be earned than what could be the fees that could be owed for a particular development of record, and that credits could be traded in the open market and used outside of the development of record for which they were earned. And they also had an expiration life of 20 years. Under the new program, the 5th edition, we'll be issuing impact fee waivers, just kind of a different name, but however, they're going to be limited to the development of record for which they were earned in conjunction with. and that a developer would not be able to earn more waivers than what he could use or spend in impact fees for his development. And these waivers will not expire in the new program. And this is to help keep our program a little bit in better balance than what we've seen in the past. Here is an example of the proposed new fee schedule. As you can see, there is a north service area and a south service area, two separate fees. They are fairly close to what we have today, if not just a little bit less than our current impact fee schedule. Now, as I mentioned that we would be changing that credit program in the future for improvements that are built on the regional road network. However, we are still maintaining the old credit program, those credits that were earned by the development of records, and they will still have the same uses and requirements that they will be able to be used for. But at the September RTC board meeting, the board voted to give a 10-year extension to the existing credit holders, and this helps them use those credits before they actually expire. Since we started back in 1996, the first credits will be expiring in 2016, so it's just around the corner. This will require an amendment to the General Administrative Manual that we will be bringing forth at the same time or very concurrently with the approval of the General Administrative Manual. We'll also be requiring each credit holder to enter into an agreement to allow that 10-year extension to take place. So once this amendment is approved by all three local jurisdictions, we'll hold an open season to allow credit holders to come and approach RTC to ask for that extension, and then we'll be back before all the local jurisdictions for approval of those agreements wherever they were initiated. And the next steps for our adoptions, I'm currently working with all the local RIF administrators to get on the schedules for the planning commissions and city council and county commission meetings. And based on a tentative timeline, we are looking at the new fees going into effect sometime during the first quarter of next year. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions for Julie. Mr. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Julie, thank you for the presentation. One of the things that I'm not seeing in here, maybe I'm missing it, is the TOD corridors or downtown corridors, exceptions or reduced rates or things that to actually limit your impact on the roads. It appears to me that you're charging still the same amount for downtowns as you do 20 miles outside of town.
That is true. We did take a look at trying to assess whether or not we could do an urban-suburban option, and it turned out that when we went through the in full calculation to come up with what those fees would be, the problem is that we would never collect enough cash or fees within the urban area to do anything, because the amount of improvements in the urban core are very reduced. However, with the urban area, most places are already developed to some extent, and when a new developer goes into those existing properties, they actually get an offset of their impact fees based on whatever the land use was prior to this new development. So if you had a commercial building and you tore it down and built something new, you would basically not pay an impact fee because there was already a previous use on that land.
It just seems so counterproductive to me to sit down and say, you know, we want development downtown to take and stop traffic, to encourage bus ridership, but we're not going to go ahead and do anything different than we do somebody 20 miles outside of town to go ahead and take in the same thing. It just seems very counterproductive to me, and it's been an issue for a long time. I think we're going to have the downtown developers come forward here. I think we have a presentation today, don't we, on it? You know, to building apartments and everything down there. He's going to pay the same $2,750, even though there's going to be no more improvements to the street services within probably a quarter or a half a mile around that project. You know, it's counterproductive. You know, it just mathematically just doesn't make sense. You know, you can't sit down and say we have a mission, this is what we want, if we don't put policies behind it to make it happen. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next is presentation and discussion on Kylie Ranch North Plan Development. Ms. Melby.
Background song.
50-50 chance I picked the wrong one, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Melby, Senior Planner. A few months ago, the City Council had requested an informational presentation on the Kylie Ranch North project. I am before you today with a presentation, a brief one, to cover the overview of the project, the plan development, the future plans. Today in the audience with me is Scott Christie with Rising Tides and KM2, Lois Brown with KM2, Rob Pizell with Rubicon Consultants, Carlos Vasquez with Zozak Land Company, and Matt Kiley with Lazy 5 LLC. On the slide is the plan for the oh man. I'm sorry.
Relax, Karen.
Sometimes I get tongue-tied. This is the tentative. Oh man, it went too far. I'm sorry. I'm going to start over. I think the keyboard is doing it. Let me move the keyboard. Ah, see. All right. I'm sorry. I was hitting the keys on the keyboard. Anyway, on October 18, 2004, the City Council approved the tentative plan for the Kylie Ranch. This is the approved master plan on the exhibit up there. The plan development consisted of 836 acres, which with the maximum number of units of 4,463 units. This created a 1.6 jobs to one housing unit. The intent of this plan approval was to provide more jobs within the Spanish Springs Valley. The Kylie Ranch North Handbook is a different process than all the other plan developments that we've dealt with. This one, the developer has a development agreement with the city, which allows the plan development to be finalized in phases rather than approving the tentative plan and then coming back and approving the entire 836 acres, one map. They're coming in as pieces. This was done to allow the developer to remove the ag exemption as the project was built. To date, there has been 6 phases. The first phase is here in the green. This is the only phase that has residential development in to date. Villages 39, 40, 41, and 42 have recorded maps and have either been built or are under construction. There is a total of 525 units, approved 110, which was approved in a tentative map. However, that tentative map will expire in November next month, 2014. In the yellow here is the preview center, and that was phase 2. Phase 3 is shown here in the red, and that is the area where the Renown was approved recently. The purple area is phase 4, which is also commercial. Phase 5 is the brown area, and this right here is where Belimo has been built. Phase 6 is this blue area over here, and that is to be residential. There have been, over the, since 2004, there has been 4 amendments to the final handbooks. The first amendment was in July 2008, and that was an amendment to Phase 4 to change the land use from MHR and AC, from MR and AC to MHR and AC. The second amendment was in November 2012, and that was an amendment to Phase 4, which changed the HR to AC. Third amendment was in January of 2013, and this amendment changed the neighborhood commercial and HR to CC, and this is when the medical campus use was added to the Kiley Ranch. In February of 2014, Phase 2, there was an amendment to Phase 2, which changed the PI, which public institution, to mixed-use residential, and which was a new use to the Kiley Ranch handbook. This is the current land use plan, and the first thing you'll notice is that the street system has changed slightly. The residential land use acreage has been reduced slightly. The commercial land use acreage has increased by 30%. The business park has decreased by 10%. The land use neighborhood commercial district was removed from the land use plan, and the new land use was added of mixed-use residential. The open space has maintained approximately 21% of the project. The project is anticipated to have a job housing balance, which means 2 jobs for every 1 housing unit, which is an increase from the tentative plan, which, if you remember, was 1.6, so it's gone up. And that is because of the hospital has added jobs. I recalculated based on the new plans, and I estimated that Kiley Ranch could generate as much as 9,467 jobs. So that's 2 jobs per every household. This is a...
Question? Go ahead.
Per household. Because it's a job housing balance, so you take, yeah. This is the current land use table. This table estimates approximately 320 acres of residential, approximately 157 acres of commercial uses, 127 acres of office and business park, 12 acres for public facilities, and 127 acres, which 60 of that would be common open space, which equates to about 22% of the project for open space. The future. Before you today, there's actually 2 items on the agenda for the Kiley Ranch development. The first one is a master plan amendment of 43.2 acres, and part of that they are intending to add some acreage from the other, from the Northeast Gulf Community Plan development. And then the next item on today's agenda is a rezoning of 5 acres from agricultural to the new urban district. In the future, you will be seeing an amendment to the tentative handbook, which is going to incorporate the 43 acres from the Northeast Gulf communities. There'll be an amendment to Phase 2. They're going to be adding 8 acres to the 12 acres that was approved for the single-family or assisted living area. There will be an amendment to Phase 6 handbook, which would be adding the acreage from the Northeast Gulf community, if that's all approved. And then also either an amendment to the Northeast Gulf Community Plan Development Handbook or the abandonment of that Northeast Gulf Community Handbook. This last slide is a slide showing the ownership, and I just put this in because I wanted to give you an overview of the ownership in the area. This piece right here is the Belimo, and that's owned by the Belimo Company. In this area here, this is Caviata, which is a residential area. This is Waterstone Development. The salmon area is the land that is owned by Rising Tides. The light blue area here, this and this, is owned by Zozak Land Company, and then the red here is owned by Lazy 5. This area over here, this is the Northeast Gulf community, and this purple area is the area that they're asking to be added into the Northeast Kiley North plan development. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know it took me a while to get going. I'm sorry.
Questions for Karen? See, everybody understood. Go ahead, Ron. Oh, I'm sorry, Julia.
I'm just curious if you could remind me about the status of the nonprofit water, I don't remember what it was called, but it was the keeping the wetlands. it was a conservation effort to keep the wetlands?
Yeah, that's been
Remember the
done.
name? It's been a while. And where is it?
That's the green area here. That's, they own it. It's the Kylie Ranch Conservation Foundation.
Okay, so that's the green.
Yeah, the green is owned by the Kylie Ranch.
So is then that purple that's being asked to be added into the salmon, I understand correctly?
Yeah.
Is it taking away from that wetlands project?
No.
Okay, so
That area is the developable area
it's
in
the
there.
developable area, so the rest is what would remain in the hands of the foundation and remain open space?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Great, thanks, Karen.
I think Ron has a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so I can follow on up. How many acres is that that's coming out of the Conservancy Fund to the Kylie Ranch?
It's not Conservancy, that's owned by
At the
Kylie Ranch. It's Lazy 5. It's actually 48 acres, but the amendment, the master plan amendment is 43 because 5 of the acres will remain as open space, so you don't need to change it. So that's why it comes to 48 acres.
I picked the wrong word. I should have said preserve. How many acres then does that leave the preserve once the 48 come out?
This will not affect the preserve. This land is not owned by the preserve. You can see in the map here, the purple area is owned by Kylie Ranch, LLC. And then the green area is the conservation area.
Okay, then I want to step back then and go back. Which color is going to which color?
The purple will be incorporated into the salmon.
Okay, so that has nothing to do then with the preserve area.
Correct.
Okay. Then, and I guess my question is for Lois or Rising Tide or Carlos, if they would like to go ahead and talk about what they're seeing with the project and the Dayton snapshot of where we're at right now. Because I don't see a lot of big changes going on with the project, but where we're at with the economic climate, what do they see happening with their project? And I'll leave it to whoever wants to go ahead and answer that question.
Oh, man. I'm sorry.
For the record, Scott Christie with Rising Tides and KM2 Development. I'm going to have Karen get back to the land use map. So there's been, as Karen stated, there's been a lot of activity at Kylie Ranch. We are in process with the Phase 6 handbook now. There's a tentative map that will go before this board, I believe, in December, which will be our first tentative map in Phase 6, located on the southeast portion of the development. I think everybody's aware of the renowned hospital deal that took place in the red area in our community commercial zone. We also sold a small piece of property to Maverick Gas Station. We're currently working with them now on their budgets and trying to participate and hopefully get that project off the ground. We are in contact, I know there were some questions on the business park. We're in contact with several different, both users and developers. As everybody knows, there's a lot of activity in the market right now, and we are very active in showing that property. We don't have a project put together on that now, but we're optimistic that we're going to move forward with that. And the other activity that we're seeing is on the multifamily side. We've talked to several apartment developers. Again, we don't have a project in the works right now, but we're hoping you guys will see something on that early part of next year.
Anything you see that you need help with the city at right now, taking advantage of the economic conditions and you say the interest and things like that, is there anything you see on the horizon for the city that you need us to help with in getting this I just think it's interesting here. We're almost to the week 10 years since we started the project with Mr. Kiley here, and we're talking about how do we get this thing completed. And I'm just interested if there's anything you see that we can do to help.
Well, I will say, and compliment the staff, staff has been great to work with. I think things are moving forward very well. We're excited to where the project's going. There has been a lot of interest in additional residential land. We haven't really pushed that too far yet, but I guess I'll keep that in mind, and maybe at another meeting we can talk about that if there's something we can do.
And I don't mind passing on what I've passed on to staff is that, in this Tesla euphoria that we seem to be going into is that not concentrating on the housing market, because that's going to correct itself. That's going to do, it's, there's got plenty of, but how do we take those job creators and those things that truly affect traffic flows, all that type of thing, the business parks, and how do we concentrate on them? How do we get those to come alive? And that's what I'm asking for. So, if you want to change to residential, I'm not sure that I'm going to be real receptive to that right now, because that's easy. Every community can do that. This was designed, Mr. Kiley and the Kiley family went way out of their way to make sure that we did job drivers and economic balance with this project, and that's what I want to see, that portion of it get going. So, again, I'm just offering, that's what I've asked staff to work on, and whatever we can do that you see, let us know.
Yeah, thank you for that, and we will continue to work on that. We have had several people interested in coming in with large warehouse uses that obviously aren't employment generators, and we don't feel like that's the right use out there, and we've turned them away. But appreciate your comments, and we'll continue to work with staff on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Carlos? If you want. I'm just interested in hearing what's happening out there, so we can. We get a lot of rumors, and you know how rumors are.
Let's get rid of the rumors. For the record, Carlos Vasquez of Zach Land. Unlike Scott, I don't really have any non-residential land available. On Village 38, which is the yellow piece right there, we've owned that for 5 years. And the last, obviously, you hit it right on the nail head, the Tesla euphoria. Over the last year, we've been approached by 7 different public builders and 3 local builders to purchase 38. And my intent was never to buy this property and sell it off. So we've entered into an arrangement with a local builder, and that was important to me, that it was a local builder, to kind of do a modified partnership on 38. And we hit a little stumbling block with our builder. Nobody's built finished lots here in quite some time in our county. So when our final map was coming through, we hit a wall with our builder and getting the construction bond for the public improvements done. And it was a pretty big roadblock. They for a $960,000, and this I think is something you should know, Mr. Schmidt. And for a $960,000 construction bond, they were asking our builder to put up $2 million in assets and the entire cost of the bond, and charging them 8%. So it's about a $3 million tie-in to get that, to be able to make that work. That just doesn't work. So we had to take a step back, and then that, of course, everything happens at your last minute. So we had, we were 30 days before our tentative map expired, and we hit this wall. And so what had to happen is we had to modify our agreement so that I could pledge the assets to help them get that bond. This created a bottleneck, and we couldn't get this done before our map would expire. So basically, and this goes back to your staff, we threw ourselves on the mercy of your staff and said, what do we do? And the last 6 years I've been lucky to work all over the country. I've done projects in Phoenix, Philadelphia, Miami. It took your staff 2 days to come up with a solution for us that saved our bacon. And when you say, what can we do to help get things going at Sparks, that's what you do, is you have a staff that's motivated to make things happen when you have to think out of the box. And that's what happened for us. So we're on the agenda today for that extension. If that extension is signed, our property will go into contract tomorrow, and we will finish up getting our final map done and approved, and we intend to build models in February and March and start selling homes in April. So that's the update on Village 38. So with a little help from the gods above, a lot of help from your staff, and a little bit of help from you guys, we're going to be off and running on that here within the next few months. We are going to miss the first 2 months of the building, as you know, because you don't build in the winter roads. On 35, our senior center plans have not changed. They've altered. We've had a growing relationship with Rising Tides, and the possibility came up for us to acquire a little more land from them, and then for us to also acquire the green piece of land from the Kileys and extend that piece to be able to fit the project as we originally envisioned it. We were trying to work with the piece of land that we had, guys, and basically at that time, that's what we assumed was all that we were capable of doing, is what we had there. But because of, like I say, a tightening of the relationship with the Rising Tides, we're affecting this big land trade, which you're seeing part of on the agenda today, and you'll see part of it in a couple of months, which will enable us to expand that project into really what we want it to be, which is more prototype for the other ones that we're building. So we've had a little bit of a delay on that, but it's a much greater opportunity to acquire it and build it the way we want. The other piece, which is the triangle piece over here.
Do you want me to go to the...
Can you go to that one that has the triangle over there? This piece over here, that's not held by the Kileys any longer. That's in an LLC that we just acquired that property through Golden Triangle LLC. The abandonment of the golf course handbook ties the red piece and the purple piece all together to be able to break out of this handbook that at the time when we first came through with our project, nobody thought the handbook was valid. Then it turns out it was valid, so now we've got to abandon the handbook. At the abandonment of the handbook, we're going to do a new handbook for the triangle, and that's a project that we plan on doing a mixed development between housing, multifamily, and some small commercial, and we're going to self-fund that. So we'll be developing that on our own as soon as we're through with these little machinations with the golf course handbook, which is a little bit of a left curveball, but once again, that you hit these curveballs, and that can be the end of a project or something that gets stuck into a fund, and you sit and wait 10 years to correct. But working closely with your staff, particularly, I got to tell you, the past year, it's like having another partner. It's been great. And solutions have been coming quickly, and we've been able to, we've hit some stumbles because that area just wasn't designed for the collapse. When everything collapsed, the Kileys had no vision that this thing would fall to pieces, and was all designed to be a piece. And we've had to rework HOAs and rework all kinds of different pieces of infrastructure that were previously there and operating. That stuff has been largely worked out and is functioning now, and I think that you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff happening out there. I have been getting bombarded with public builders and speculators on every piece of dirt we own. And particularly, we own a ton of stuff in Reno, but it's the Sparks property, and it's exactly what you said. It's that Tesla. Everybody wants to be on the drive line to Tesla. And it's a very different world. I've owned a lot of this property for 5 and 6 and 7 years, and I waited 5 years for somebody to just drive by and smile at it. And now it's gone from me calling everybody and not getting a return call or not even getting past the secretary to them calling me. And that's a very quick turnaround in a very short period of time. So I think you're going to see a lot of activity on my properties. Rising Tides is in a phenomenal position, and the market is definitely, that flood is coming in.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet.
It's time. Anyone else? Okay, any other questions? Great. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, folks. We appreciate it. Let's move on to consent items 8.1 through 8.4. Anyone want to pull a consent item? All right, looking for a motion? Mr. Lawson.
Move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.4.
Mr. Smith.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Lawson, seconded by Councilman Smith to approve agenda consent items 8.1 through 8.4. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Okay, let's move on to general business. Consideration and possible acceptance of a justice assistance grant in the amount of $100,058.31. Who's doing this one? Come on down, Chief.
Hello again. Our department put in for this grant. It is from the State of Nevada Department of Public Safety, Office of Criminal Justice Assistant Grant. We call them JAG grants, and it is for $100,000, 58 and 31 cents. Essentially, the motivation for this grant is an increase in both labor and equipment to satisfy some of the legal requirements that our sex offender unit is going to need to keep up with. And what this does is allows us to buy a couple pieces of equipment that will streamline the process of sex offenders coming in and registering. It automates some of that process and also automates some of the record-keeping aspects of that. In conjunction, approximately $37,000 of that is for overtime to pay for sex offender sweeps and records keeping overtime in conjunction with those elevated standards that we're going to be being held to in the future. With that, I'm looking for council's approval for the $100,058.31 in the Justice Assistance Grant.
Okay. Questions for Chief Miller? Not looking for a motion. Mr. Smith?
I move to approve and accept the Justice Assistant Grant in the amount of $100,058.31 from the State of Nevada Department of Public Safety, Office of Criminal Justice Assistance.
Mr. Schmidt?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Smith, seconded by Councilman Schmidt to approve 9.1. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Next is 9.2, consideration and discussion on the sign code alternatives for the separation distance between special freestanding signs. Ms. Melby, Mr. Thompson. Nice time, Mr. Thompson.
Good afternoon, Mayor Martini and Council. Today with you is Karen Melby and Tim Thompson, Senior Planners. On August 11th, we were before you with our draft sign code, and there was a lot of discussion during that review of that draft sign code on the spacing between special freestanding signs. So you provided guidance to us that we should come back with alternatives. So Tim and I have put our heads together along with the rest of the staff and come up with some alternatives, and that's what we would like to present to you today. Part of our presentation today will be a clarification on some of the points in the code. We will be providing you 6 alternatives for your review, and which focus on distances between the special freestanding signs. We will ask you give us direction so that we can revise the sign code and come back with the revised sign code. During that August 11th meeting, some of the discussion points were on the proposed separation distance of the 3,000 linear feet between digital special freestanding signs. It was felt, or potentially, that unduly restricts the conversion of existing special freestanding signs or non-conforming outdoor advertising structures to digital signs. It was also overly restrictive for the number of new digital freestanding signs.
Definitions.
That's you.
So we wanted to start out with some definitions. The first is for non-conforming outdoor advertising structures, or NOAAs as we've been calling them. Essentially, this is an off-premise sign that was installed prior to the adoption of the sign code in 2002. The adoption of that ordinance made those signs that were constructed prior to that date all non-conforming. And then the second would be the special freestanding sign, which is a sign that can be located in the industrial district, may not exceed 672 square feet, and does not count against the maximum allowable sign area for the site. There are specific height, size, and design standards for those special freestanding signs. Some noteworthy points as they relate to special freestanding signs, nonconforming outdoor advertising structures, is that only, currently under today's code, only nonconforming outdoor advertising structures that are within the industrial district have the ability to be converted to special freestanding signs, which would in essence give them the ability to upgrade that sign to a digital sign. And we saw an example of that with the Clear Channel billboard located at the Tank Farm on I-80 and Pyramid. It's important to point out that the existing non-conforming signs that are mostly located on the west side of town and north of I-80 cannot be converted under today's code to special freestanding signs, and that is solely based on their zoning. Those signs that are located in TOD or commercial type districts do not have the ability to become conforming. Important to point out that without any type of distance separation requirement, that any industrial zoned property could have a special freestanding sign. And that the separation distance is measured at a lineal distance and not radial. And by lineal, we mean on the same side of the street. So you could, in essence, have two special freestanding signs directly across the street from one another, provided that the separation between the signs on the various sides of the street is at least 1,500 feet under today's code. And then a couple other points as they relate to freestanding signs and digital signs that are not related to the special freestanding signs is that any commercial and industrial zoned properties have the potential to erect freestanding and monument signs that contain a digital component, and that has no bearing on special freestanding signs whatsoever. And then again, with the adoption of the code in 2002, the Sparks sign code is content neutral, and so a property owner can advertise any business or product regardless of whether it's sold on premise or not.
As I said in the opening, we have 6 alternatives that we want to present to you today. These alternatives are from the most permissive to the most restrictive. We tried to come up with some different variations. So, the first alternative is our current code, which we used as our baseline. This is 1,500 feet between all special freestanding signs. And what we assumed is if they're digital or static, they would be 1,500. We looked at a map and estimated the number of signs, the potential number of NOAAs that could be converted, which is a non-conforming sign, to a special freestanding sign would be 9. New potential special freestanding signs will be 47 under this alternative. And then the results in the possible digital would be 56 digital signs could come out of. That would be the 47 plus 9. Things to consider with this alternative. This alternative maintains the 1,500 feet between either a static or digital sign. It's the same for all types of the special freestanding, so we wouldn't differentiate if it was a digital sign or a static sign. The NOAAs must be converted to a special freestanding before they could become a digital sign, is the last point on this alternative.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
And when we did our analysis, when we did the analysis, we only looked at the major streets. We didn't take, technically any property within the industrial area could have a special freestanding sign, but we assumed the major streets. We looked at Gregg, Glendale, Rock, McCarran, and Sparks Boulevard.
And Vista.
Those are the streets that we did our analysis based on. We didn't feel that, like Freeport, somebody's going to put a digital freestanding sign on it. So we just made that assumption.
So that's what we have right now, 1,500 feet between all signs, right?
That's correct, and this is our baseline.
Okay.
What we wanted to do is give you a comparison of numbers, so this is using the current code numbers.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. So then the second alternative is a proposed, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm
That's okay,
sorry.
no worries. What does it take to convert a non-conforming to a single, or a special freestanding?
They have to be within the industrial area. They would have to meet the height requirements, the size requirements, the architectural or the design of the sign requirements in order to convert.
Okay, thank you.
The second alternative is, what we're proposing is 1,500 feet between special freestanding signs, existing ones, and then 3,000 feet between digital signs. And this is what we proposed in the draft sign code. And looking at this alternative, again, we have potential of 9 NOAAs that could be converted to special freestanding signs. There's a potential of 47 special freestanding signs, and then new potential digital signs plus the 9 converted signs would result in a total of 32 potential digital signs. Again, looking at only our major streets. Some considerations on alternative 2 is this maintains the 1,500 feet between the static signs. However, it has a 3,000-foot spacing between the digital signs. So, I mean, you could have a static sign, a digital sign, a static sign. So you could keep that 1,500 feet between them as long as you had the 3,000 between your digital signs. The NOAAs, again, would have to meet the special freestanding signs in order to become a digital sign. Third alternative is 1,500 feet between existing static or digital signs, and then 3,000 feet between new static or new digital signs. In doing our analysis, we found that there's 9 signs that could be converted. Existing NOAAs could be converted to special freestanding signs. There's a potential of 23 new special freestanding signs, and a potential all of those signs could be converted to digital. 32 of those could be converted to digital.
Go ahead, Ron.
Karen, so on option 3, if we took option 3, all the existing signs would stay as they are. They could either be digital or static, right?
Correct.
So if this went into effect and somebody wanted digital signs, now somebody comes in and wants to build a brand-new digital sign, it's got to be 3,000 feet from that existing digital.
Under this alternative, that's correct.
Under number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of the considerations to look at in this one, existing special freestanding signs, digital or static, the Martians are landing, would be the same distance. The new special freestanding digital or static would be 3,000 feet. So any new sign would be 3,000 feet from another special freestanding sign. This proposal does not address existing NOAAs. They'd have to be converted to a special freestanding sign in order to become a special freestanding sign. And that would be we'd have to look at that 3,000-foot distance. This increases or creates an additional layer of nonconformity